strong coffee, because the last cup of really strong coffee hasn't even hit the sides and your eyes still won't open up all the way. Well, how about this one? You realise through the morning breakfast fog that for the last 10 minutes, you haven't heard a word that your beloved sitting on the other side of the breakfast table has said. Now, if any of these describe you or have ever described you, then chances are you, like most of the rest of Australia, aren't getting enough sleep. And we haven't been getting enough sleep for the last 50 years. Compared with the 1970s, in the 1970s, we were getting 8 to 8.5 hours sleep, statistics show. Today, Australians are getting 7 to 7.5 hours sleep. Now, there are a few reasons for this. We're obviously a lot busier. We're trying to cram more into our lives. Just as an example, compared with the 70s, when someone was trying to raise a family, now raising a family also involves holding down a job for many, many people. And that means that there's just a lot of stuff that you've got to try to cram into the same 24 hours. And something's got to give, and it's usually sleep. And I think too that technology is a bit of a culprit here. Computer gaming is really addictive. And Australia's got a lot of computer gamers. They burn the midnight oil more than that to 3 a.m. So that really has to erode your sleep. But even if you're not into computer gaming, I think that most of us at some time have been guilty about going to bed with a laptop and a mobile phone and reading. And what that does is the white light from those devices stimulates our brain and makes it a lot harder to get to sleep and a lot harder to stay asleep. Now, I have heard views that since the coronavirus struck, people are getting more sleep. And I do believe that. That applies to some people for sure. If previously you'd been commuting an hour each way every day and now you're working from home, obviously you've got more time to squeeze in some sleep into a busy day. And certainly I know from my experience, young people aren't getting out and partying as hard and long as they used to with lockdown. But on the other hand, the incidence of computer gaming is spiking. It's going through the roof. There are a lot more people in Australia who are getting less sleep because of computer gaming. And I think that with coronavirus, there are a lot of people who are actually quite anxious about what the world's going to bring, what it's going to mean for their job, what it's going to mean for their family, for our economy, for our society. So I think on balance, it appears that we're still somewhere around that 7 to 7.5 hour mark with sleep. So we're getting less than we need. Sleep is really, really important. While we're asleep, our body is rebuilding muscle, it's repairing damaged tissue, it's processing protein. Our brain is going through all the events of the day and it's discarding some stuff that it doesn't want to keep, and it's remembering things that are going to be useful. And if these things don't happen, I think that from time to time we can get a bad night's sleep and we'll experience some of the downsides, the effects on our concentration, our coordination, our memory and our mood. But if we go for a while without getting enough sleep, this can have really bad impacts on our health. Heart attacks, high blood pressure, diabetes, all these things are really serious consequences if we don't get enough sleep. Which brings us to the big question: how much sleep is enough sleep? When we're born as babies, we need about 19 hours sleep a night. And as we get older, this decreases until it plateaus out around about the age of 20, and we need, on average, somewhere around 8 to 8.5 hours sleep, give or take a bit with individual differences. Now, there's about 2% of the population who don't need that amount of sleep. And there are some famous examples from history. Isaac Newton only needed 2 hours sleep a night. Leonardo da Vinci needed 3 to 4 hours sleep a night. Winston Churchill got by on 5 hours sleep a night, topped up with a bit of a snooze after lunch that I think was helped along by a couple of brandies at lunch. And just in case you're one of these people who buys into that theory that high intelligence and the need for only a little sleep are somehow correlated, could I point out that Donald Trump reckons he only needs 3 hours sleep a night, and Albert Einstein reckoned he needed 10. So, as the old song goes, it ain't necessarily so. So, fellow Toastmasters, we've got a problem. We are about, on average, an hour short on the amount of sleep that we need. So, what do you do about it? There's plenty of expert advice around. No caffeine after 3 o'clock. No carbs after dinner. Get more exercise. Clear your mind before you go to bed. Play Rain on the Roof tapes as you're going to sleep. All of these things are known to have some really positive effects on sleep. But we are an hour short. So fellow Toastmasters, I want you to snap to it, to rub that sleep from your eyes, and to go and get yourself that extra hour's sleep. And if perchance during the course of this evening you hear a faint buzzsaw sound coming from the person next to you, and you steal a glance and you notice that in fact their eyes are shut, then chances are they've taken my words to heart and they are wasting no time in catching up on some much needed sleep. Toastmasters.
Thank you very much, Peter. That's good advice, I think. Tanya, do you just want to explain your timing lights?
Green, that your timing, orange.
Okay, has everyone got that for future? Yep. Thank you. Let's move on now to our second speech of the evening, which will be from Jim Wallace. Jim said that these days I'm early to bed to wake up early for work, but on these cold mornings I tend to sleep in. Jim's speech is a level 1 project from evaluation and feedback, and it's the second speech of the project where he has to incorporate feedback from the first speech into the second speech. And I'd like to call on Colin McFarland, who will be evaluating the speech, to read the objectives, please. Thank you, Colin.
I think you've already given it.
Yes, I think I might have.
Particularly, Jim has to incorporate feedback he received from the first speech in this presentation. And he has informed me that the main thing that he was told in the previous speech by his evaluator was that his ending was very sudden. So we're on the lookout, Jim. It's a 5 to 7 minute presentation.
Thank you, Colin. So if we could have the lights at 5, 6 and 7, please, Tanya. Oh, we've got cards. We've got cards. Everyone aware of the card system? Thank you. Please, let's welcome our Advanced Communicator Bronze Competent Leader, Jim Wallace, with his speech entitled Battling Alcohol. Jim Wallace.
Okay, my story starts. I'm standing in the bottle shop and I'm contemplating. Do I buy the 6-pack of beer or do I buy the carton of beer? Now, probably people might know why I'm thinking this. The 6-pack well, it just limits me with how much I can drink. But it's more expensive. I'm better to buy the carton and just regulate my beer. But can I trust myself to do that? I think I can. I buy the carton. Off I go. But it would be like in 3, maybe 4 weeks, I put on 3.5 kilos. And that just stunned me. Not only this weight gain, but I realised I didn't know how much I was drinking. Then it sort of turned me to another question. Why do I need to drink alcohol? So I turned to the internet as usual. But I found out a few startling facts. I go to the World Health Organization. They tell me that alcohol is the most dangerous drug we have in our society. They also say that 5% of deaths worldwide can be attributed directly to alcohol. So why don't we do something about it? Well, perhaps we should just look at the history of alcohol first. I found alcohol residue in pots in China nearly 10,000 years ago. So you can imagine it's been around for a lot longer than that. But you think, 10,000 years ago, what were we doing? This was Stone Age stuff. There was no countries, there was probably very basic societies, but they had the ability to invent alcohol and to keep drinking alcohol all the way down through the ages. And today, of course. And of course, the way they made alcohol back then was just to get fruit and let it rot. So basically, you get grapes, just use grapes as an example, put it into a bowl, add some water, cover it up, and it would ferment. The bubbles would come to the surface. When the bubbles stopped, you'd have your alcoholic drink of around about 1 to 3% alcohol. Enough to get you a little bit of a buzz, and probably wasn't too much of a problem. Plus, it had other uses. It was seen as a clean sense of, instead of polluted water, they could rely on alcohol. And when water wasn't always available, they could rely on this alcohol. And they even paid people in alcohol. So alcohol kept on going down the road. No problems, no problems. But then we get to a certain time, a few hundred years ago, all of a sudden, the introduction of sugar into Europe. Plus, they perfected the art of distilling the alcohol. So all of a sudden, you could have a lot, or they could still 100% alcohol. So all of a sudden, we come across a lot stronger drinks. Then we come across the whiskey and the rum, which is 40 to 50% alcohol. And of course, the Industrial Revolution was on us too. So we could reduce it to the mass scale. So of course, you can see this going from 3% to 50%. It's going to cause a few problems. And some countries tried to ban it. Some of the Middle Eastern countries did actually ban it. Even America had a go at banning it. But all that did was give the production and supply to organised crime. And the worst thing of all is that the government missed out on millions of dollars in taxable revenue. So now we come to today, and alcohol is everywhere. It's through every level of society, and there's plenty of it. It's used in every celebration we have: weddings, funerals, births, even just like me, just a little bit of a treat for after work. And of course, then we're sort of quite numb to the destruction of alcohol. We know that celebrities, like, I have them on the tip of my tongue, but there are celebrities out here. Bon Scott is one, Amy Winehouse is another, that had alcohol problems and died. But we seem to just overlook all that. We can walk down the street, we'll see a bunch of drunks. We know that they're drunk, so we'll walk right around it. We know there's a sense of danger there. We'll see a drunk laying in the street. Normally, if someone was laying in the street, we'd help them, but we know it's a drunk, and so we walk around them. We're just used to it. So what can we do about it? Well, I really think it's up to the individual. I think alcohol's here to stay. So for me, I looked on the internet again, and there seemed to be a a variety of mini documentaries asking those two same questions. A statement of I didn't realise how much I was drinking, and the question is why I need to drink. And these many documentaries really based around middle-aged men who start to be concerned about their health. Some of the documentaries are Drinkers Like Me, The Truth About Alcohol, and there's one such YouTube I follow called Alcohol Mastery. And for me, well, I'm trying to reduce the amount of alcohol by being educated. I use these documentaries to inspire me. And always, I have to stay vigilant because alcohol's sneaky. It catches me out every now and then. Just the other day, I walked to the club to get some dinner. Before I knew it, I'd had 2 pints of beer. I didn't even realise it until I was driving home. And I'm starting to do this quite a complex calculation of how much beer I had, the percentage of alcohol, male, weight, time, and I'm concerned about the police as well. But fortunately, I got home all right. So, to me, with those things combined, the battle with alcohol continues. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Jim. It was very interesting message there for all of us. It's always a delight to listen to an icebreaker speech as it signifies the start of a new Toastmasters journey. Tonight, we're privileged to have an icebreaker speech from Barbara. When I asked Barbara about her sleep pattern, she said, "I am a combination of owl and fowl. I prefer to stay up late, and some of my best work has been done at 3 a.m. However, my job requires me to be up by 6, so on school nights I need to turn in by midnight." Val Brodie, our guest from Crest, will be evaluating Barbara's speech, which is the icebreaker speech. If you'd like to read out the objectives, please, Val.
Certainly, Madam Toastmaster. It's the icebreaker speech that years ago you only did once, not every pathway you did. 4 to 6 minutes. Introduce yourself in any way you like to the audience. And essentially, being comfortable to do that and giving it some information is all we look for in the icebreaker. And the title is Blame the Pineapple, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Val. Let's please give a big welcome, an encouraging welcome to Toastmaster Barbara Seuss. If we could have lights at 4, 5 and 6, please, Tanya, with her speech entitled Blame the Pineapple. Welcome to Barbara.
My speech tonight, Blame the Pineapple. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a tin of pineapple, golden circle pineapple to be exact. And this tin, or at least some of its brethren, is the reason I'm standing here today. So this story goes back, just over 100 years, back to 14th of November 1918, 3 days after the armistice, when my father was born. Now, growing up in post-World War I Germany was tough. There was not enough food, not enough clothing, not enough fuel for eating. Pretty much all he remembers of his childhood is being cold. So in 1939, at the ripe old age of 21, he was drafted into the German army. He didn't have a choice. Hitler was not nice to conscientious objectors, not at all. So he spent the war years fighting in France, Spain, on the Russian front, and almost froze to death in the middle of winter fighting on the Russian front, saved only by his comrades. And then post-World War II, once again, not enough food, not enough fuel, not enough clothing. As a result of all of this, he developed an absolute abhorrence of cold weather, being cold. He lived in Germany. It is cold in Germany. So eventually, my parents met, married, started a family. My father was in my mother's ear for a number of years. Let's move to some warmer climate. Move to a warmer climate. My mother resisted for a long time. She had family. She was comfortable. And then in 1955, her father died. And given this was the second parent that had died, she suddenly went, let's do it. We're out here. Let's go find this warmer climate. So to that end, they applied to 3 different countries to immigrate to. Canada, so how that fits into warmer climates. South Africa and Australia. So which country to go to was easily solved by whichever answered first. And I sometimes ponder how different my life would have been, but for the speed of the postal service. I am Australian by 24 hours. They're not South African. They would have gone wherever, whatever came first. So in 1957, my parents, complete with 4 children now, packed up their lives and moved to Australia. Migrants were processed at that time in a place called Warnagilla, which is not far from Albury in northern Victoria, and is also not far from the snowfield. So the idea of warmer climates wasn't quite there yet. The White Australia policy was in full swing, and they were processing people into either Melbourne or Adelaide as jobs and housing came up. And my father had other options. He didn't want Melbourne, it gets cold. He didn't want Adelaide, it gets cold. But unlike today, he was told he was free to go anywhere he liked, but he was on his own. The government were not going to help him with housing or accommodation, but that didn't deter him. He had one goal in mind and one goal only. And in January 1958, he, with the family, came up to Queensland and specifically Brisbane. Brisbane was his aim all along. So by now you're probably wondering what the pineapple has to do with that. Golden Circle Cannery opened in 1947. By 1957, pineapples were distributed globally, including Germany. And my father was sitting there looking at the can of pineapple thinking, well, if pineapples, he was not an agricultural man, I might add, but if pineapples are grown in warm weather, then wherever the pineapples are will be warm enough for me. And if you look at the fine print on this can of pineapple, you will see that it is manufactured in Northgate, Brisbane. My family's progeny, my parents' progeny, I should say, is 10 children, 28 grandchildren, and thus far 23 great-grandchildren. So that the 62 of us are Brisbaneites because of a pain tin of pineapple. And if you think, after all this, that my father's favourite food was the pineapple, no. Hating the cold, almost freezing to death, his favourite food was ice cream.
Thank you, Barbara. What a wonderful story. That is so good. Thank you very much. You've started now. You've done it. Well done. We're now going to have table topics. sort of slightly different table topic session this evening. Tanya, John has offered to evaluate table topics, or?
I thought we should all do it.
Okay, all right, well, I think the idea is when Fiona nominates someone to come up and do draw out a table topic, maybe you could also nominate someone in the room to evaluate it as well, or? Yes, if that's okay. We're very grateful for Fiona for stepping in to do this role. So please make, what's your name?
Advanced Communicator Gold, but I haven't got my badge.
Advanced Communicator Gold, but she doesn't have a badge. Our very impromptu table topic master, Fiona Allen. Let's welcome her. Thank you, Fiona.
Okay, everyone. Surplus, so we have these. I should have mentioned the time. I will. Okay, table topics traditionally is 1 to 2 minutes for composition, so we can get through quite a few. I thought maybe 1 minute for green, then 1 1/4, and then 1 1/2. So that way, hopefully, everyone can get a go. So, and for Tanya eating, that's okay. You heard that, didn't you, Tanya? 1 1/4.
That's our normal here. That's what we do normally.
Good on, yes.
19 minutes.
So green, yellow, and red in that order. So we're running this a little bit differently tonight. So I'm going to go to somebody. Okay. What tips do you have for getting some good sleep on a long haul flight?
Oh dear.
Sonia, what tips do you have for getting some good sleep? And can I ask Belle to evaluate? I'll give you the topic that makes.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. I'm actually a very good sleeper when I'm get on a plane. I don't know why you feel it's funny. Yeah, I don't understand why is it funny. It will require very good skills, and I'm going to share with you tonight. First, when you get on the plane, if they provide food, eat all of it. All the drink you can get, all the food you can eat, and ask for extra. As much as you can get your hands on, get all of it. Why? Because when you feel yourself so up, the carbohydrate will hit your brain and will make you feel sleepy. I don't know if you have that experience. When you eat a lot of carbohydrate without other combinations, especially, you will feel very sleepy afterwards. So when you get on a plane, it's very boring, right? They sometimes make you, they can let you watch movie, but that movie is you sort of know what's going on, but you just don't know how the details going on. So it's not a very nice situation to be in. So if you can sleep through the whole night, I think it's pretty pleasant, well use of time. First thing, eat a lot of things. Second thing is you can buy a headphone. It's a noise cancelling. That's very good for you. So 2 tips: eat as much as you can, and remember those are free food and you pay for it. Second is stop your ear and don't hear anything. Then you can have a very good night's sleep. When you wake up, you're all there and you're all refreshed. Thank you. Thank you, Topics Master.
Okay.
strange dreams or nightmares? What strange dreams or nightmares have you had lately? Peter. And evaluating Jim. Thank you.
Thank you, Table Topics Master. I don't know if I can actually share all the strange dreams that I've had lately. I don't think it'd be totally appropriate to do that at a Toastmasters meeting. But I am haunted by these dreams that I occasionally have where I'm in vacant fields or I'm in cities and streets and there's no one on there, but I know that I have to be somewhere really quickly. That I'm missing something, there's a deadline, there's some sense of urgency, and I've really got to get somewhere. And I'm blessed by it. When I get into really difficult situations in dreams, I know that some people are able to dream their way out of it and reason their way out of it and come up with dream solutions. I can't do that. I think my brain must get so frustrated that I just wake up. And of course, when you're awake and you've got a problem and you've got a wife in bed next to you, it's pointless trying to work it out yourself. So I often shake Christine and say, oh, you'll never believe the strange dream that I've just had. And sure enough, she won't. She doesn't want to talk about it. I don't understand. But, I mean, that's what marriage is about to me, those sort of intimate moments where you're able to share a dream about being in a field or being in empty streets and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm glad that I could share this moment with you, and I'm also glad that I decided not to share some of the other moments with you. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you. Peter, yes, sorry. There are too many things to think about here. What things do you do the next day to cope with your late night from the night before? So what things do you do the following day to cope with that nasty late night that you had the day before John's dad?
You've actually hit on a great thing. I love staying up late, and sometimes, you know, when the cricket's on, I can stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning watching Australia, do it to those Poms. I love it. But what happens the next morning? Sorry. Because I know that in the next morning, I get to ring Mary. And if they've done it well, she rings me. So I've got to have a coping technique for how I handle the late nights, because the next morning, I'm absolutely shattered. But the good thing is, I have learned over the years that I can get to midday. I can get to midday even with no sleep at all. I can get to midday. So the coping technique is stay busy, stay really busy. Be on the phone, do the walking, do the calling, do all the little jobs that you've got to do for work up until midday. Then I hit the brick wall. And the brick wall is, as Sonia rightfully said, lunch. Because if I have a big lunch, I'm gone. I'm gone in the afternoon. I need my nana nap. But if I have to get through the afternoon, you sleep sitting down. You sleep in a couch. So sit. You sit for about 5 minutes, you doze off, you wake up, and you've got another 15, 20 minutes left in you. The other good trick when we were driving, Mars bar and Coke. You put enough sugar into the system, it will overcome any carbohydrates that have ever come through. So sugar and Coke and Mars bars. And when I used to smoke, boy, that was good fun too, because caffeine, the nicotine, the Mars bars, and the Coke. Terrific for staying up, not great for the waistline.
Okay. Dopey, grumpy, sleepy. Which one are you? Jim.
Well, Fiona's just set the scene. I was trying to write there, and Fiona's distracted me. So sorry about your evaluation, Peter. It's probably turned bad now. So I'm a little bit grumpy and annoyed at Fiona for picking me. I was trying on my old little trick. I was trying to say, Bridie, you know what, you're at school. Don't look at me, teacher. Don't get me at the front, teacher. Are you a teacher at all, Fiona? No. Well, you should be. Because, right, Jim, he's trying to get out of it. So, unfortunately, I'm grumpy, but now I'm a happy grump. Thank you.
Well done. Pets and children can ruin a good night's sleep. Do you have any ideas to share on how to stop them interfering with your sleep? Barbara. And evaluator. Thank you. I don't think I do, to be honest. Pets and children, I mean, I have a lot of them. Like, I live downstairs now. My daughter with her 4 children live upstairs. The 10-year-old had her birthday on Monday morning. They were up at 4:30 looking for her birthday present, she and her brother. And that means... And they woke the dogs. They go, I want to get outside. I want to come back in. I got my pillow over my head and then I thought, no, I can't breathe. No, I don't really have any tips. I think it's just a matter of, it's not my problem. I don't have to get up. Shut up. I don't really have any, but because I love them all to death, I just put up and shut up. So that's it. Okay. You've woken up late for a job interview. How do you get dressed quickly in 5 minutes? That. I haven't picked you yet, have I, Val? I'm getting confused. I didn't think so. So how do you get ready quickly for a job interview? 5 minutes. Evaluator, please, Tanya.
Madam Topics Master, when you finished that with 5 minutes, I thought you wanted me to talk for 5 minutes, and I don't want to. It's never difficult getting up early, and it's never difficult being organised. You just get yourself organised the night before. But getting up and out to a job interview when you've got kids and dogs and foster kids and unreliable cars, how much can you check beforehand? And quite honestly, nowadays, why are we worrying? If you have a job interview now, it's probably going to be on that bloody machine to stare at and not move and not worry about anything else. I apologise for an inappropriate language in Toastmasters. It's just lately, with 5 organisations, I am sick to death of that machine, and I would love to be late for anything at all on it. But quite honestly, is there anything else other than get up when you need to, set an alarm if you can't wake up because it's daylight anyway, and have everything organised the night before. I cannot see any problem with this. And one day, hopefully, my sister-in-law will learn it, then the kids aren't going out in chaos every single morning. I don't think I've really answered the question. I didn't want to answer the question. I didn't hear it. It was halfway in the back of my mind. And I'm looking for a timekeeper to give me a light so I can sit down and shut up, Madam Timekeeper. Thank you very much. I think Val's late for that job interview. What things keep you up at night? Yolanda.
Because we know you can't sleep. So what things keep you up?
What things keep you up? There are 3 things that makes me wake up when I sleep. First is my husband's snore. What I did is just go to the next room. And every time I know if he's about to snore when I saw him have a glass of wine. But any other day, he was okay. The second one is the chirping all around us. I am a light sleeper. I feel like I'm a chicken. Anything that has some noise or anything bang, I can wake up straight away. I can be a guard. So I can oversee anything that's happening. And the third one is when my alarm clock keeps ringing me or my notification in my phone that wakes me up. So the same thing, what I did, I am trying to do my stretching so I can snooze again and go back to bed. So I think that's all I did whenever I cannot sleep. Thank you.
Thanks, Yolanda. Okay. This, I don't know, has anything to do with sleep, but it will be a test for you. How many roads must a man walk down? Shane. Could have given it to anybody, but I picked Shane. Oh, how many roads must a man walk down? And would you like to evaluate? Seems appropriate.
Madam Topics Master, the only roads I walk down these days are when I put my athletic gear on and I go for a jog. And we have got a lot of dead-end streets in our little neighbourhood, but they are beautifully connected by easements in between the homes. So I have a tendency of just following the main roads around when I started doing my jogging. But now I love going down those roads and exploring and coming back different ways, like those rats that go through the maze to find the cheese. And I make some beautiful discoveries. There's some lovely parks in our area that I've been living there for 23 years and didn't know about. So what would I do? I would drag Fiona out for a walk the next day and I would show her these beautiful things that I've discovered. And yes, she was good for the first 20 minutes of all these roads that I'm walking down, but then she starts whinging when she's, I'm thirsty, my shoes are hurting me. And so it's not the roads walking down, because they're fun. When you've got Fiona, it's the roads walking back that you really pay the price on. So I would say to you, when you're going out with a wife, a spouse or partner, just think about the roads you go down, or how many roads you go down, because you've got to come back with that same person. So you better hope that they're patient. Madam Deputy.
That's it. That's the top. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And moving back to Berry.
Thank you very much, Fiona. That worked quite well, actually. Thank you. It worked really well. It's amazing what Sunnybankers can do, isn't it, when they stretch? Let's see how we're going for time now. And to give us our first timers report, let's welcome distinguished Toastmaster Tanya Rooney. Welcome to Tanya.
Madam Toastmaster, we commenced. And all the usual proceedings happened. And at 6:48, we had the first speech, and Peter spoke for 6:53.
We had Jim, second speech, 7 minutes 27, and the third by Barbara, the icebreaker, 5:35. We commenced table topics at 7:16, and Sonia had a good night's sleep for 1:50, a bad dream by Peter for 1:30. Next day, John did something or other. He got up to something bad the night before, 1:35. Dopey Jim spoke for 35 seconds. Pets and children, grumpy. Oh, I know, something was dopey. Pets and children, Barb, for 1 minute. Neat, a job interview, Val, 1:40, the job interview that she got up late for. What keeps Yolanda happening, something or other, 1:30. And how many roads, Shane, did he walk? He walked 1:36 down and I don't know how many back. And it is now, I've got my watch on, whatever the time is, and I think we're a few minutes late.
Very much, Tanya. We'll now have a 10-minute break, and if the Sergeant Arms could call us back, please, Peter, at 7:55. Thank you very much.
You had a very good meeting with
If they don't look at it, we have a recording.
Yeah.
It's our break time.
Interesting session of Toastmaster meeting, the business session. I'm sure that's what everybody's here for. Everybody's looking forward to this the most. That's what we are here. It gets our excited and interesting. Before I get down to the before the official meeting open, I would like to explain that I sent out an email with all the motion that we intend to discuss today. But with limited time tonight, we will only be able to discuss the most urgent one. So the order of the one we're going to conduct will be different, and we will see how the time goes. And when the time come to the end of this session, then we will finish, and the rest of it we will discuss in another time. So we will not finish all the motion. It was sent out in the email. All right, I declare the business session officially starts at 7:50. Ms. Secretary, is there a quorum? Oh, Mr. Sergeant, is there a quorum?
Yes.
I think we don't,
We got 10 out of 20, so we're 50%. Can we proceed?
Colin will explain to us.
Apparently we have 20 financial members. We only have 10 members present, which does not constitute a quorum.
Mr. Chairman, Lisa Merriman has asked for leave of absence for the study since back in whenever, and she's been checked to see if she's coming back, and she hasn't been fine to coming back. So.
I knew this was going to happen. Do we have 20 members or 21?
20 financial members.
So how did we get 21 this afternoon?
I don't know.
You have 12 on the list and nine apologies.
Got 10 apologies.
Okay. So Lisa's applied for leave of absence at what point?
When she started, even before March.
So she's an inactive member. So in that case, we have 19 active members. In that case, Madam Chairman, you have a quorum.
Well, want to say something?
Could I just make a point? 12 on that list was 10 of your members and 2 yes. We don't count any.
No, don't count a different list now. Different list.
So we do have a forum.
Yes.
Is there any further apology other than the apology I announced at the beginning of the meeting?
No.
I ask for a motion for the apology as stated before be accepted. Anybody second it? Larry seconded. All in favor? Motion carry. Minute of the previous executive meeting has been sent out through email. I'm sure you all read it thoroughly and investigated. Is there any additional correction or addition to the minutes?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I believe we should be just doing minutes for the previous business session in the club. Executive meeting comes in as President's report.
So we only pass the report. So we only going to pass the report?
When we get to the reports, we still have to do all the other business before we get to reports.
Is that means we are going to try to discuss the report?
We have to move a motion for minutes from the previous business session held at the club.
Oh, but we are not doing it.
Sorry, during the format, just continue down there and we'll get into it in order.
Madam Chairman, I move the minutes of the previous business session at the club be adopted. For the correct record.
Anybody second?
Second, Shane Allen.
All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carry. Is there any business arise from the minutes? Correspondence, Ms. Secretary, is there any outward correspondence by email?
Madam Chair, there was no outward correspondence, and this has been detailed in the minutes. The only inward correspondence was from Toastmasters International regarding designating a proxy, and also another one from Toastmasters International about the applications being approved for level 2s and level 4.
I ask a motion that the inward correspondence be received.
Madam Chair, so moved. Second, John Schmidt.
All in favor? Motion carry. So the report we did in the executive meeting, I asked for a motion that we been received.
And this meeting has no authority to accept minutes of an executive meeting. The custom has been in the club, because the executive is required to report back to the club after an executive meeting, the custom has been for the president's report to the club to actually be the summary of the executive minutes. So the motion simply is, if you want to deal with that the president's report, in brackets, minutes of the executive meeting of such and such a date, be accepted.
Okay, I ask for the president's report, in bracket, the minutes of which day, Mary, which day did we do that?
Sorry.
When did we do that?
22nd of July.
22nd of July, the minute of the executive meeting in 22nd of July be accepted.
Sorry, I've just been asked the question to be received or accepted. I was having a think about this while I was driving down to office works this afternoon. If we accept it, there's no choice about things that are in that report. Well, all we are doing is receiving that report into it, so we go in the minutes that it's been done.
Oh, okay. I ask for a motion that we receive the president's report in bracket, the minutes in whatever day that Mary just said. In 22nd of July be received.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
And in the second, all in favor? Yeah, all in favor? Motion carried. So we should. So other than president's report, we should have our financial report, the budget explained by our previous treasurer. Please welcome Tanya Rooney. I don't
Everybody
think
has
it's
read their
working.
reading of the budget, and you look at the figures. There are questions coming out of the budget and what we're going to do with it, or rather with the money that we've received over the past, the meetings that we have held here. But the budget is there. It was revised. I did see for the better.
Hang on a
I worked
second.
on the fact that we had 67 cents in the dollar at the time, and when we calculate it from way back, there's a 2% leeway and a 3% charge. So looking at that, move it back then. Okay, so income is all that only from the fees. The changeover dinner and 2 dinners, if we have them. Oh, okay. The left is the actual that we spent last year. The right is if it happens this year, and we have no guess. Oh, okay, so that's how much it costs for the dinner. So you disregard that because further down we pay it straight to the hotel. So it's really the pro rata. I work on 4 members, being 8 new people, and they come at various times of the 6 months. There's really 4 full-time memberships. So it's 4 full memberships and 3 and 8. So that's where it's. Yeah. What was that? Okay, that's the income. The lower is the expenditure, and I've done it, as I said, 67 cents in the dollar. The badges have got $10, and if we only get 1, we pay $4. If we get 2, we still pay $4 per male. Trophies, we just got first little batch tonight, and they've gone up by another $1, and male was $8 in that male that I received. Extra trophy, I imagine we should have some costings for putting on the president's name in the trophy. There'll be no DTMs this year, I feel. No one's going to go for DTM. Raffle prizes in discussion, roughly $7.50 a head, 24 meetings. Now up the top there, Yolanda, can you change that to 25 membership up the top? See that number up the top? Can you just change that to 25 up the top?
This one?
Up the top, right on the top of the side.
Oh.
Right, under H row. H row. Go up the top.
Right up the top.
Right up.
Oh, I can see.
Where it says 20 up there, thanks.
Oh, okay.
Can you change that to 25?
We're 25 now. 25. Yeah.
That's right, you make that 25. Press it. Right, everything should have changed. So go down to the bottom a little bit, move it down to the bottom, and you'll see that we make a surplus at that stage. If we say 25 members, we're in front, and everything, all the other numbers should have changed by that number. If we go up again and make the exchange rate 71.71.
Yeah.
Did it change?
Yeah.
It changed. So that way, going down to we're in front of 280. So it all depends on the rate changes and that. Now, looking further down where we are at the moment, room hire, I've got 2nd, 4th and 5th Tuesday. We can change that. Cutting out the 5th Tuesday, we save $110 a meeting. So there are 3 5th meetings, and Australia Day falls on the 26th. So in that particular one, I've included there's 24 meetings being, excluding the one on the 29th of September this year and not counting January. It would have been 25. So that must be 23 meetings room hire at $110. Batteries and mics, if we have to do anything there. There was talk of fixing up the back of the mic, and that would be, I don't know, a new mic is $90 for a new mic. And the Christmas dinner, guests, etc. Well, that's if there's a variance from the figure at the top is if we do pay for the guests. Contest judge, test speaker. Well, if we don't pay the judges, they're internal. We do pay for a gift for the test speaker, so it could be $10. As area director, I'm area director of another area. I'm calling for a $50 donation from each club. I don't know what the area director's doing here. So go back to the top, please, again, Yolanda. Does anybody wish to change any of those numbers? If we were talking 25, if we were talking 20, can you go back to the top and change it back to 20?
Personally, I would change it to 17.
Okay, change it to 17 at this stage. Okay, and drop down to the bottom, and you can see that we're in a deficit of $702.56 over the year if we only have 17 members. So that's the need more members. At the moment, the bank's sitting on $3,003, but that includes the fact that we paid all that money, extra money for 9 meetings, 990. But we would have lost money because at the time of paying the fees in March, it was about 58 cents in the dollar, which came to about $79, including costs. So overall, we're in a healthy state bank-wise. But remember, starting from July, so far we owe 2 meetings, and there's still another 7 meetings. Can you go back to the room hire charges, please? We have to pay, out of that money, we have to pay 7 room meetings. That'll be 6 room meetings just there, room hire, which we won't have any more money coming in, so that'll be 1,900, and that will, before we get any more money. So are there any questions? Can you sort of follow that?
So the club, if the scope of thing drags on for a couple of years, the club can withstand a couple of years of that. We've got the funds to keep us going for a couple of years. If we have a low membership of say 17, correct?
Correct.
Good, excellent.
And what can we do if something happens to like a big expenditure on like a laptop price or something? Do we have an emergency?
No, that's all we're
Usually anyway.
Sorry?
Usually anyway. Everybody's bringing their own laptop. You're not using that laptop at all.
I think I got that laptop from the company I work for. Not that one.
The club bought a laptop some years ago. No one uses it.
It's working perfectly. John Fury tested it. I took it home last week to test it. It's working perfectly.
So
We need it.
to make any provisions for
At this stage, we're using it. So
The only question was about a lapel microphone. Well, it's being used tonight. It's working perfectly.
At this stage, but I've given the allowance of $90. So we have got money. We've got the 3 to go for down. We've got the 3,000 there, but it wasn't 702 a minute ago, was it?
Yeah. It was 750 something like that. So the reality is, as Shane put it succinctly, is we can survive at least 2 years if we just be careful with our fifth meeting and just be careful with our expenses. We can survive 2 years if this thing drags on, which puts us in a fairly healthy position.
Very good.
There'll be a motion put shortly about the 5th Tuesday. Executive meeting decided that we, because of the corona business, and we'll not have the 5th meeting this
Conversation for later. This is just about the budget. Okay. So the budget agreement says that we can survive a couple of years, and it looks like we need to have 25 members, which is something we can target.
Okay, is that 18 minutes? Okay, well that's the budget.
Huh?
I know we're going to go to the next motion, but the important thing is that we want to change bank accounts. At this moment, I'm paying a lot of the bills out of my bank account and getting a reimbursement. Like I'm not paying for it, I'm getting reimbursed. And very few clubs work off. But I strictly believe in a 2-signatory banking system myself. The only other way to do it is to have go to another club like NAB and have 2. That way you can have people signing at different houses.
Is that a motion for later?
It is, but that's part of this as well.
It's a motion for later. We need to move on.
Yeah.
Well,
we need to move on.
Well, that's it's 80 minutes. It's up. No, I need to know tonight. We have to change
That's a
signatures.
motion that we can have. Later, firstly,
Later week.
Firstly,
Let's accept the budget.
let's accept the budget and have a
As long
motion
as
to
it's not
extend,
finishing.
a motion to extend the time. You can't just
Yeah.
keep walking over the top of everybody.
All right, so I move that my budget be accepted.
Second Shane, second John.
And all in favor? Motion carried. I'm just reading here.
Madam Business Session Chairman, I move that the business session be extended to cover the essential item, which is Kenya's motion.
And five seconds.
I second.
All in favor? Motion carried. So we just do it quickly, just do the first one related to what Tanya just said. That the club move its bank account from Commonwealth Bank. Think you prefer to another bank who accepts true signature.
No extra charges.
So explain to us, NAB allowed you to,
Madam Chairman, the motion has been seconded.
For what? Budget?
No, the NAB. You
No,
can't have any discussion until it's moved and seconded.
I second.
my move.
Someone, oh, sorry, someone moved.
Well, I don't know whether it's moved.
I don't know, I don't think it was.
So we have to move and second.
I move the motion that we're discussing, that one about the change bank, I move that be.
I second that motion.
Any discussion?
So
The discussion, the reason is, at the moment, Lisa's away, John's away, no one here to sign things or do things. And if we want to do it, we can have a computer at your place, you know how I went to your place to sign a check? With NAB or John's another bank, you could be at your place, he could do it, he's the treasurer, he would zap it up and he would contact you and say, would you please okay it, being two signatures. So probably there are two issues. Do we want two signatures for a treasurer, up 3,000 or 4,000? And second one, all we have to do is change banks. We need signatories on our minutes to give to show the bank that we are the new signatories as well.
excuse me, Tanya, have we identified with Commonwealth that that's not a possible
Correct.
scenario?
Every time I go, she says, I told you last week when you were here.
Okay.
As I walk in the door, she said, I told you last week. Oh, I thought you might have gone long and changed.
Yeah. Are there any extra charges for a society?
Not for the bookkeeping. There's still charges when you send fees to America, and at this stage, if we don't get one, Lisa offered to send it to America via her, because she said she has no bank charges like American, because you have to use a Visa card. A Visa card can have one signature.
Yeah, I can
You can do it too. So when the time comes, if you want to, and we can reimburse you straight away, you know. We can't do it directly from the bank account because it's like a savings account. To send money to America, you've got to use like a Visa or American Express, you've got to use all those 10 numbers, whatever.
I've got Visa and Express.
Well, I've been doing mine and sending and getting reimbursed. But with two people to sign, instead of waiting a month or 2 months to get your money back, I think because it can be $1,500 or something like that, twice a year. You can okay it, you know. So the signatories are speaking with
We'll do
Simon.
this one first.
Well, that's all the same account.
Are there any further questions for Tanya?
Any other discussion anybody against this motion? Anybody say things in
Like the
favor?
motion to a vote?
All in favor in this motion?
Changing
I
accounts.
propose that we accept the motion.
So one second.
We're accepting that we're going to change it.
Yeah, so all in favor, motion carried. The next one, right related to this one, is the signature for the new bank account will be Tatiana Rooney, John Corey, and Mary Barry. Any, I'll move the motion. Anybody second it?
Second the motion.
Do we want to discuss? Any discussion? All in favor?
Okay, thank you everybody. That solves all our problems. That's all I'm saying.
Very good.
It's 23 minutes, we're 5 minutes over time, so it's
We'll do the most emergency one. The next one is the Sunnybank Club.
Point of order, Madam Chairman. We extended the meeting to cover the essential banking items. Are these items really essential? Well, yes, I think we just have another business session, 18 minutes, the very next meeting, and that'll wrap us up on these things.
Okay, so I will declare the business meeting
you, Sonia. That was at your first business session. You did well. Let's all give her a big round of applause. It's not easy running a business session. Now we're going to start our evaluations. So Yolanda will be evaluating Peter's speech in a time of 3 minutes. If we could have lights at 2, 2.5 and 3, please. Tanya, let's welcome competent communicator Yolanda Talon with her evaluation of Peter's speech.
For that, Mary. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be here in the lectern. Back to you. I missed this one. Now, the most impressive part of Peter's speech is his vocal variety and his hand gestures. I can hear him clearly even I was at the back, and I'm truly enjoying his speech about different information regarding sleep. I like his technique. He's using the pros and cons and the advantage and disadvantage of not having a good sleep. Peters, he has a good introduction, compelling message, and a clear conclusion. I like his gestures as he emphasized what he was saying. Oh, that's a good catch. That's not included in the evaluation. And I cannot see any points of improvement for Peter Sheehan. But perhaps Peter can explore more of walking and owning the stage. Or perhaps leaning when he's going to persuade something. I like his eye contact, his engaging the audience by looking at each other, looking through our eyes, and explaining all about sleep. And all in all, I am deeply encouraged and I moved by his informative speech given to us. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Yolanda. Our next evaluation will be given by Colin. Colin said, late to bed used to be early to rise, but really can't say that anymore. Does that make me, listen everybody, does that make me a foul owl? Laugh. Laugh. Applause. Laughter. Shane?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I should have mentioned that. That's why there was all these blank faces around. So again, Tanya, in a time of 3 minutes, let's welcome distinguished Postmaster Colin McFarlane to evaluate Jim's speech. Thank you. Thank you.
Toastmaster, yes, fellow Toastmasters. Battling alcohol. Now, Jim was asked specifically in his second speech, the repeat speech, to concentrate on his conclusion. But firstly, I want to compliment Jim on not repeating the first speech. That would have been too easy. He chose a completely new topic. So thanks for that, Jim. He had to present a speech on any topic, which he did. the introduction caught me off guard. He said, "My story starts," and I thought, But once he got into the story, I realised it was his story. And perhaps if he emphasised, my story starts straight off the question, the six-pack or the carton. And I knew straight away it was Jim who was battling the alcohol. This was not going to be a general treatise. Well, that's how it came to be later on anyway. The introduction I just spoke about, the body, it was well researched. It had these very logical steps, the progression, the history right through the ages, and today what's happening and how it's causing destruction, even death. The technical aspects of his speech I found really interesting. His eye contact was exceptional. And he managed that by turning his body and looking at people over here and getting their attention and doing that all around. Not the tennis motion, but in a very effective motion, getting that engagement with the audience. I found his voice was clear and varied. It helped my understanding. It helped me to follow his speech. And the conclusion, now this was the main thing. Now I felt maybe there were two conclusions. We got to the point where he started telling about the conclusion. He went to the story, the pub, and had 2 beers. And then with the story about going home. And I thought, right, this is the conclusion. He's winding up, telling us this personal story that summarises all these things. And then a little one right on the end. So for me, the battle continues. So I think Jim did pay special attention to the conclusion that was asked to by his previous evaluator. I would ask Jim to work on transitions. That's a big word, but transitions are not necessarily big words. In the old manual, there was this beautiful paragraph, about 50 of them. All these little words like so, and, but, now, next, however, firstly, secondly, and they're little signposts or transitions that lead us from one point to the next. And I felt that conclusion would have even been more effective. I would have known exactly where he was starting the conclusion if I'd seen or heard one of those little transitions. So that's really my only recommendation for Jim. In summary, a well-structured, well-planned, well-rehearsed, and well-presented personal story. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Colin. Now we've got a book review. Shane said, owl or fowl? I'm keen to be both in my time. I'm known to be both in my time. I go through stages. In recent years, though, I'm definitely an owl, but realise a fowl is a better way to live. And I've received emails from Shane that have been sent at 3 o'clock in the morning, so I can attest to that. Shane's going to do a book review, and he's got 4 minutes allocated for this. If we could have lights at 3 and a quarter, 3.5 and 4 minutes. Let's welcome Advanced Communicator Bronze, Shane Allen, with his book review.
Madam Timer, 18 minutes is the title of my book. Its subtitle is Find Your Focus, 18 minutes, find your focus, master distraction, and get the right things done. The fact that this book has rested for 5 years, partly read on my bookshelves at home, is testament to the fact that I needed to read this book. But reading this book was scary. Peter Bregman, the author, has never met me, yet in his book, he identified my personality traits perfectly. Take, for example, pages 139 and 140. He perfectly described what I went through, my personality and what I was thinking at the time in a very stressful senior position I had back in the 1990s. I was relieved when I read about these personality traits because I thought I was unique and I knew that I could have done that job better with my behavioural abilities. So it was a relief to tell me that I wasn't unique. There are 250 pages in the book, and too many examples to share with you. I'll pick down a couple of little subtle favourites that I had. The first one is that Bregman says that motivation doesn't take as long as you think. It only takes seconds. That's because the hardest part of the job is to get going started. Thank you, John. Thank you, Fiona. The hardest part. Now, if I decide to mow my lawn, the decision, once I pick up that lipper snipper, I trim the edges, I get the mower. I don't stop after I've done a couple of strips and say, no, I'll leave it for next week. No, I complete the whole lawn until it's done. So the decision is made once I motivated myself to pick up that whippersnipper. Once I start, the rest looks after itself. Now, that's such a simple concept, but it was such an incredible awakening for me to realise that all I have to do is be motivated for a few seconds to go and finish a very large project. The second one that I have, I'll just read what Bregman says. I have a friend, a rabbi named Hayim Angel, who carries reading material with him wherever he goes to a meeting, whenever he goes to a meeting. Why? Because he told me, according to the Talmud, the Jewish book of law, if someone comes late to a meeting, they are committing the sin of stealing. Stealing the time of the person who had to wait for them. And that's the worst kind of stealing because what was taken can never be returned. I don't want to cause anyone to sin, so I always make sure if I have to wait for someone, they're never in a position of stealing my time. So I take reading material with me if I'm queuing up in the shopping centre or going somewhere where I might be waiting. Page 146 clearly and concisely outlines the table for the 18 minutes. But it wouldn't be fair to the author, it wouldn't be fair to me, and it definitely wouldn't be fair to you if I told you that without the context of you having read the other 250 pages. Bregman's book, I feel, is a life changer, provided you follow through. But the good news is, if you're not good at following through, the book also teaches you how to follow through. 18 Minutes by Peter Bregman. I wished I'd read it when I was a younger man. Buy it, read it, reread it. Madam Toastmaster.
Shame, that sounds like an interesting book we should all read. Speech Valuation 3 of the Icebreaker speech given by Barbara. We have our distinguished Toastmaster Val Brodie to give this. She's the guest from Crest. So let's give her a welcome. Please welcome distinguished Toastmaster Val Brodie.
Madam Toastmaster, I'm members of Sunnybank Toastmasters Club. I happen to know that, even though it doesn't say it on the top of your programme, if I were a total stranger. And today you've welcomed, with the icebreaker, Barbara. Now, we're always saying a speech has construction. It has an introduction, it has a body, it has a conclusion. And under the pathways, even for an icebreaker, it's suggesting you start looking at your voice, your gestures, your eye contact, everything. That's too much this one. All we need from an icebreaker is when we leave the room today, do we know more about the person whose speech we've heard? And I'm quite sure if I ran a Q&A question time right now, judging from what was going on in the coffee break, that was achieved. The number of people who were talking, seeing the relevance of what was said to their own family. Because this was a speech that had a really catchy title, Blame the Pineapple. But we started with an introduction of family history. Such interesting family history that many of us can probably relate to. And then, where's this going? Where's this going? By then, we've learned history, country, choices. Suddenly finding there's 62 people here. Where did that pineapple come from? And then the humour as it was brought back, the reason for choosing a can of pineapple from Brisbane. Won't we all remember that? The odd little thing that makes you do something. And then that can of pineapple was referred to with humour 3 times. And then twisting right back to the title. And the humour coming in again. Dad doesn't even like flaming pineapple anyway. He prefers ice cream. But that's humour coming in, relating back as a totality to the speech, going back where it started. And certainly, I would say that we would like to hear Barbara throw her voice a little more, or maybe use the microphone. But it didn't matter because we were so engrossed. We all heard that. And the main thing I would like to say today, that I totally enjoyed the speech. I know a lot about Barbara, a lot I could relate to. Did it achieve your object of an icebreaker? Timing was right, 5 minutes, 35 seconds, good start there. But every person in this room now knows more about Barbara's background, her family, her life, her ability to bring some humour in, and to start with a title like that and bring it right round. We have the makings of an excellent speaker here today, and congratulations, Barbara. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you very much, Val. Thank you. I totally agree. We've got our table topic evaluations now, and as discussed before, we're all going to, I should have written down a list of the... Thank you very much. Our first table topic was given by Sonia and will be evaluated by Val. Can we evaluate from the chair? From the, evaluate from the floor.
You'll get sore neck in the back. I know. Now I will quickly.
Time is 30 seconds, I think.
30 seconds. Sonia, what tips do you have for getting some sleep on a long-haul flight? We started off with information and instructions that sounded as though this wasn't fiction. Talking from experience about eat all the food you can, it's free on the plane anyway, you get all the extras because carbs make you sleepy. So in that very short time, she had us on the title with some information, something personal and something to take away. And in between that, great eye contact, clear voice, convincing, and the conclusion on the topic. Congratulations, Sonia. It was a great table topic.
Thank you. Thank you, Val. Peter's table topic was evaluated by Jim.
Thank you, Mary. Now, Peter's story had a definite beginning, a body, and an ending. And Peter started off about dreams and started straight into a joke that he wouldn't share all his reasons. That got us all laughing. Then Peter entered into the body. And as he entered, he used his voice modulation and his engaging personality just to sort of build up the intrigue in the body. And of course, then he goes straight to another joke. He wants to share the dream with his wife. His wife doesn't care. And of course, at the end, Peter sums it up by bringing that first great joke back to the end. Thank you, Peter. Good speech.
Thank you very much. Our next table topic was from John Stavronidis, and I evaluated this. John commands this stage as soon as he walks up here. He looks everyone straight in the eye and he gets straight into the topic. He has excellent use of the stage as he walks backwards and forwards and a good eye contact, as I said. I love John's sense of humour. He had a good little mini speech with a very good conclusion. But the only thing I can say is, please, I do not condone his advice on Mars bars and Coke. Jim's table topic. Who evaluated Jim's? Colin, here we go.
Dopey, grumpy or sleepy. It didn't take him long to answer the question. He slipped straight into character right from the start. And that was a brilliant way to start. So 2 brilliant introductions from Jim's 2 speeches tonight. And the only other point I had to make was, with his conclusion, this time he got it right. He had this brilliant transition to start his conclusion. Unfortunately, boom, boom, boom.
Thank you very much, Colin. Barbara's table topic was evaluated by Sonia.
Barbara's topic was her solution for children and pets waking up her sleep. I think she's got a good structure because from the beginning she said she's got no solution, and in the middle she explained how the kids like, and the ending she says again there's no solution. But I think what stands out is her acting. Oh, she's just a beginner in Toastmaster, but her acting is good, isn't it? The acting at her children and stumble on the floor to protect the children. So that's really well done. Good, very good, excellent.
Thank you, Sonia. And Val's table topic was evaluated by Tanya.
When Val stood up, I thought, what a nice, clear voice. And she really sold the story. But did she? The question was, she was late. How did she cope? It wasn't about how she wasn't late and what she didn't do and making excuses. So is that 50 points you get disqualified if you don't answer the question in a contest? Answer the question, listen to the question.
Thank you very much, Tanya. Yolanda's table topic was evaluated by Shane.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mary. Yolanda, I love your confidence. I love how you're natural and authentic when presenting. Your effective structure tonight had 3 discussion points: the snoring, the chirping, and the phone. When you offer problems in public speaking and presenting, you must always offer a solution. And Yolanda did that. She concluded with her solution of stretching. Toastmaster Mary.
Thank you very much. And to evaluate Shane's winding roads, let's call on Peter Sheehan.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mary. How many roads must a man walk down? Shane straight away had a very clever structure. He framed it up. In my neighbourhood, I walk down a lot of roads. And then he built on that introduction with some anecdotes about Shane and Fiona walking down roads, and then came back to it with a very good conclusion. It's not just walking down the roads, it's getting back. Well, great structure. It wouldn't be Shane without having a high energy style too, and it was a great style. The gestures were expansive. The walking wasn't just walking, it was pantomime, and it was real high energy Shane Allen. Great to see him back.
Thank you very much, and thank you everybody. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. Next on the program, we have bedtime stories. Well, I have a feeling it's us that's going to be telling the stories, but I'm going to ask Tanya to come and explain. Let's welcome distinguished Toastmaster Tanya.
Sorry to know I was on the program so many times tonight. Thank you, Mary. It's just a round robin. I'm not really starting a cool down every week, but then sleep time. How did you all go to sleep? Come on, let's start the story going.
The question is, how do we go to sleep?
Well, no, your bedtime story. You know, like get lulled off to bed at night with a bedtime story? If you didn't, tell us about your favourite bedtime story. You've only got about 15 seconds. Oh, you know, like half a minute. We're running out of time, so it's around Robin.
Okay.
Go for it, Colin.
No bedtime stories.
May I be politically incorrect?
You talk to
Go to sleep, my little pickaninny.
That's enough. Let's move on. Thanks, Mary.
It's got me, I don't know.
Here, give it to me. Give it to me. Oh, sorry. I thought you were just passing the mic. Sorry.
I was given a book on Grimm's fairy tales. They give you nightmares. So I don't think you sleep very well if you read those. I go to bed now with a Sudoku.
Sudoku. Sudoku. You can do numbers. Count to 9 all night.
Then I will continue with a Doku.
Sudoku.
Sudoku. Sudoku is a magic word for a Japanese character. That's Sudoku.
Is that what you do? Is that what you do at night? Read over Sudoku.
Reading the children's book about Sudoku.
I think I'm going to go along with the children thing. I'm sure we all remember You Are My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine. My father sang it to me, I sang it to my daughter, I sing it to my grandchildren, and it works wonders.
Reading anything that's interesting will keep me awake, and anything that's less interesting and a little more like work will put me to sleep.
Yesterday I saw a news. The gold price surged again, going to reach the history high. My favorite bedtime story is I take a big bar of real solid gold, 99.9% pure, from my backyard. I said it to myself before I go to bed.
Okay, I'm going to continue with bedtime stories for old people. For me and Shane, bedtime story is if I feel sleepy and I want to calm Shane down, I pull out a brush and I say, I'll brush your hair, lie on my lap.
She's lying.
And he's like mush in my head.
She's lying, I tell you. Oh. Just when I thought I wanted to come and join Sunnybank, I think we'll keep her back over, as well as not leaving Chris, staying with Chris as well. Bedtime stories. My poor children, I can never recall having read anything to them. I would always make up the stories, and those poor children, that they turned out normal despite those stories of the foot phone and the monsters and all the penguins from the penguin from the Antarctic going to visit Africa, and all those stories. And despite that, my children, I think, grew up relatively normal.
Children's bedtime stories. When I was 4, my auntie gave me Little Red Riding Hood and the Big Bad Wolf. And Little Red Riding Hood looked lovely, Red Hood and all that. The Big Bad Wolf is this black wolf with teeth about 6 inches long. And my mother would lovingly read this thing at night, and I'd lie in bed there for about an hour. I could see the wolf in every shadow and every corner.
I go to bed with Philip. I go to bed with Philip Clark from the ABC Radio Nightlife. That's my bedtime story. And nobody else wants to say anything. Well, now I'm going to have to ask Tanya to come up again with her final timers report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, David. We had a coffee break and we returned, didn't we? That was wonderful. Business session went for 23 minutes. Yolanda's evaluation, 2 minutes 35, and Colin's 2:58. Shane spoke 4:25 in his book review, and evaluation number 3 minutes 29 seconds. Table topics, I can't add up all evaluations. I added up 25, 35, 75, 27, 26, and it came to 4 minutes and 25 minutes. Bedtime stories went for a few minutes, and it is now 8:45, 8:45, and we're on time.
Thank you. Big hand for Tanya. Now is the crunch time for the general evaluation. See how we've all been going. I think we have 10 minutes allowed for this, so I'd like to call on John Stavronidis to come and give the general evaluation. Thank you.
Mark's bar.
There is not one member of this club that I am not proud to be part of. There's not one member of this club that I think isn't better than every other club member in Toastmasters. Due respect to Preston. But tonight, we did not act like a team. I haven't enjoyed tonight's meeting. This will be the first time. You can see my voice is breaking right now. I don't like saying these words. We're out of practice in being together in a group and doing the things that we've got to do as a team. I remember when I first came up here and I came to these meetings, you had to be structured. If you weren't, these people pulled you aside, not had a go at you, but explained to you why. So tonight I want to explain to you why. We have a lot of challenges coming back here. We've got people that can't be here, we've got COVID restrictions, and so what we've got to do with these meetings is we've got to make sure that we communicate all the way, before the meeting, during the meeting, and even after the meeting. And tonight we saw what happens when we don't communicate. We didn't set the room up appropriately, and we had one member that was very upset about that. And he had a right to be upset. So we need to look at these things. We need to think about them. So whoever is the president, Toastmaster, whoever is standing in as Sergeant at Arms, has to have this formulated, have this plan formulated beforehand. So we come in here and it's an appropriate meeting and it's a comfortable meeting for all of us. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have to communicate leading into the meeting about what's on the program. And the program has to be absolutely, let me use the word, schmick. Why? Because when we're doing a program, when we're doing a meeting, whether it's a Toastmasters meeting or down the track we'll be doing some function at work or being an MC for a family do, it's important that the structure is set up and flows. This is a performance. Every meeting that we come to is a performance. And it's run by the Toastmaster, by the president, and by the exec. And if anything's not right, we get a situation tonight where we're stumbling a little bit. You know, we're all amongst friends here, and we can stumble, and we don't, and we take it quite nicely, and we laugh about it. But it doesn't make us improve, because we're getting away with stuff that we don't need to get away with. And you can get away with it in here. It's a friendly place. It's a safe place. This is where you make the mistakes. But if you don't learn from those mistakes, you will go out into public and people will be wondering what the heck you've been learning at Toastmasters. No one likes a business session. And tonight we had a lot of structure set in place to help people through the business session. But we didn't stick to our structure and we hadn't communicated or practiced what we needed to do. We are so lucky in this club. We've got one of the best business mentors and parliamentarians any club could have. We don't use him enough for these things. Barbara hasn't sat through a business session before, but I'd be surprised if she wants to sit through the next one. No, I certainly don't want to. That's where this club is on show, at a business session. How professional are we? At a business session. How do we get through all the motions that we need to get through and the business that we need to get through? That happens at the business session. And if we ever had a car crash at this place, tonight was the business session. And I've run some bad ones, I can tell you. When you're in doubt, when I was doing the program, when in doubt, if I can't handle a session, like I'm no good at a business session, I'll tell you right now, I get Colin to do it. Because I'm not going to be good enough. Because this is a performance, we're on show. Let's get our best person out there doing it. And if we've got a brand new president, don't throw it at the sharks. Let's help her get through the business session. Let's see a business session, get her involved in the business session, and that way the next time the business session is on, she can get through it. Certainly something we need to consider in our mentoring. We're taking a lot of liberties up here with timing. The red light, the red card, the red whatever it is the end of your session. If we don't learn that, and we don't learn how to be flexible, so we see the yellow come up, we've got to start considering closing off. We see we see the green come up, we've got to start considering closing off. If you've got 3 things that you needed to say, you suddenly don't say those 3 things. The yellow comes up, you are in conclusion mode. And if you're not in conclusion mode, every time we go out there in competition, we're going to get slaughtered. And we're going to get slaughtered because of timing. What a shame, because there is so much experience, there is so much possibilities here. We've got people here that can compete at any level at this club, but we're getting slack with timing. And if we don't get back to the way it used to be, we are going to continue not to do well in our competitions. I would ask everybody to start thinking about their presentations, whether you're presenting the timing report, the president's report, whether you're the Toastmaster, whatever role you have in the meeting. If you're scheduled to have 3 minutes, 2 minutes, that's all you've got to talk for. So schedule your time and plan your time around that. And yet, we saw some really good things in it. We saw some speeches from people. We saw evaluations, table topics evaluation. Look at the way Colin and Shane evaluated their table topics. 30 seconds. How do you evaluate anything in 30 seconds? Jim almost got to 30 seconds. 31. Remember, if that's all the time you've got, then put the amount of things that you've got to say in that time. Great evaluations. Opening, bodies, conclusions, all taken care of. We saw some table topics, really well handled. Opening, bodies, conclusions, really well done. We saw good speeches tonight. We saw a Toastmaster who tried to keep the pace by the introductions, being flexible, no communication, but she jumped to the challenge all the time, moving microphones around. So congratulations, Mary. Well done. Some issue with the caramel slices. I had 2 before I realised they were nice.
Oh dear.
Toastmasters, Sunnybank. I really think that we need to get back to some basics. I'm sorry that I've had to say these words, but I'm not sorry that I've said them. Because I think we're a better club than this. Please, let's not go down the path of being like the Broncos, where we've got a whole bunch of stars who can't work together. This is a club that works together. We need to communicate with them. We need to talk to each other to make the meeting flow. And a flowing meeting is a quick meeting. The 3 hours goes so quickly.
And if you don't do it, we're going to drag and drag and drag. And we're going to run into trouble down the track. I'm happy to take questions, and I've got a couple of minutes left.
Where did we go bagging on time? We were too back on time.
In your book report,
Yeah.
that went red, and you kept talking.
But isn't my deal competition to get 30 seconds? Like for me, to get to 4:25, I was really proud of myself to be within the 4:30, because normally I'd go 6 minutes.
But see, we have a situation here where we allow a minute transition. So if you go to 4:25, that only allows us to 35 seconds transition. That means you've got to sit down, there's got to come up, she's got to introduce the next speaker, and then she's got to sit down. So we allow a minute transition in the meeting, in the program, to allow for that. If everybody goes over by 20 or 30 seconds, and you're right, in competition, it's not a problem. So in your table topics, if you went a bit longer, yeah, not a problem. But in everything else that we did, the business session went far too long. Far too long. You know, there's things that we need to, when you put up a complicated spreadsheet like this, you need to have the 3 or 4 sentences that explain it all. And trying to change things at the time, though I can understand why, it takes up a lot of time. We don't have that sort of time. Yes, ma'am.
I asked the question, Mr. General Evaluator, has everybody read this? And that could be the end of it. If they all read it and agreed with it, that could be the end of it.
But Tanya, you don't, sorry, I'm talking over the top of you, but I'm running out of time. You did the right thing. You said, your budgets are terrific. I've seen your budgets for the last how many years. One of the reasons I kept asking for you to be the treasurer is because I like to do your budget. But you've done all the right things. You've identified the issues. You've sent out the budget to everybody. If I'm dumb enough not to read the budget, that's my problem, not yours. And you shouldn't have to sit here and explain it all to us. You've done the right thing already.
Yeah. We could have had some agreement at the beginning or some reply to say, we all agree.
You had a couple of things that you had to get out of that budget. Very quickly, you had to show, and this is where Shane came in and said, after you spent 5 or 6 minutes, I don't know how long you spent talking about it, Shane put it down in 2 sentences. So what you're saying is, we can survive for 2 years if this thing continues. That's the first thing that needs to come out of the budget. We have some contingencies to save some money, these things, and we've got a motion in order down the track to change bank accounts. That's all you need to say. Everybody else has read the budget.
Well, also,
or should have.
This is the moment for the treasurer to discuss the budget, financial issues in this club. It's the only time of the year. We discuss that after that.
But then, Tanya, you run the program anyway. If you think you need 25 minutes to discuss you're going to have that, put it on the program. But if you've only got 18 minutes for a whole business session, you can't take up 3/4 of it to do the Treasury report, because that cuts out the rest of the stuff.
Well, there are issues connected with the Treasury report.
Then make the business session an hour long. If that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. And if anybody's got a problem with it, they can discuss it with you. But this is a business session that probably needed to be an hour long. That's what I think. If we were going to get through everything appropriately. Otherwise, the board, president sitting up here being told, sorry, we can't do anything more, close it off. And so that's not the way.
This is where a vote online could have happened.
Just you're in charge of the program. You think you need an hour for the business session? Put an hour down for the business session. Any other questions before I go? Thanks. Sunnybank.
Well, thank you, John, for your general evaluation. And on that note, my job here is done, and I'll hand you back to Sonia, our president, to close the meeting. I just wish you all a safe trip home and sweet dreams. Let's welcome back Sonia.
Thank you, Mary. Wow, we learned a lot of things to think about how to improve. My head's still spinning. I have to calm down here. So everybody calm down first, calm down. Because the next thing is full of joy, which is chocolates. Tonight we have chocolate, waffle.
Yay.
Tanya already bought us the chocolate. Have a look. Wow, looks very delicious. So better quality than we usually have. Yeah. So we will have our guest to do the honor to draw it, because Fiona already been with us. Your family already. You're not really guest. So we'll have Val. So you are a real guest.
Did you ruffle the book up?
It's not mine.
Oh,
yeah. Go on, Jim, it's yours.
Hey!
Wow. But we usually share it.
Sorry, Jim.
Now we come to the end of the meeting. We would like to ask our guests, how do we feel about? Sorry? Before we ask the guests, we might like to congratulate our first icebreaker of tonight. Barbara, please come up here with your trophy, icebreaker trophy. We are discussing in the coffee corner. Barbara did such a good icebreaker tonight. I certainly really enjoyed Barbara's speech. Learn about her a lot. Now let's hear about our guests. What do they think about our meeting? Let's start with Fiona.
I love coming to this club because I get chocolate. And we're trying to be on a health kick at home, so chocolate is very precious.
Yes.
But Shane's not very good at keeping to the promise. See where that was going. Look, when I first visited this club, you had 42 members, which is a brilliant club. And I've heard many, many years when somebody completed their competent communicator in the club that I was the charter member of, I sent them here on the other Tuesday to come to a really professional club and to learn a lot. John, I hate to say that actually sometimes what we've heard tonight are comments that had to be said and said fairly. You're a great club and it's wonderful. You're back in your own room again. That is heaven, it really is. I only wish all our clubs were. But thank you for the invitation. Normally I get more than half an hour's invitation to visit a club and then get here and have the mic more times than I ever get it in my own club. But it's great to visit. It really is. And it's wonderful to see you all. Hang in there and you'll be back with 40 members very soon, I'm sure. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Val. Consider John think we are not having a good meeting. Val think we're still having a not a bad meeting. Yeah, a fun, interesting, exciting business session meeting. So the next meeting is in. Is there anything we need to ask? Anybody wants to be the Toastmaster for next meeting?
President, I have put myself down, so to speak. But I put myself down as the Toastmaster committee. I've called it Olympic Games because I'm really missing the big games that should be on about now. So the theme is.
Yeah, Shane, want to say something?
Yes. If I could ask members to please let us know with plenty of time, 2 weeks time, are you going to be at the meeting in 2 weeks time or not? when I got permission from you and Tanya to invite people from other clubs and get them confirmed through you and Tanya. One day, as Val said, half an hour one day doesn't cut it. I would have loved, why don't we get invites out? We should have 16 people in this beautiful room to give the atmosphere. We've got to give it some energy. It'd be lovely if it was some guests we could get along here somehow, but at least have 16 people, and we can do that if we get notice from our own membership how many spaces there are.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Maybe we should start to give confirmation to Tanya at least a week before the meeting start, so we can have plenty of time when we have extra spots.
I said 2 weeks. I don't think 2 weeks is unreasonable. You know, I'm going to get the meeting next time. Young's going to be there. You know.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Two were
Yeah, I'm programmed for a speech. You know, we know what we're doing. So let's just get back to you guys nice and early.
Let Tanya and me know if you are coming as early as possible. If you can let us know today, that will, for the next meeting, that will be the best.
You're there providing you haven't got 16. You're there
Oh, thank you again.
two people were late notices
We'll send our email to urge the rest of the members to tell to give us confirmation of attendance for next meeting.
And we have 3 speeches next week. Being Yolanda, you know about that, don't you, Yolanda?
Shock.
And Sonia, you're finishing your level 1 next meeting, and if no one else is going to do one, Shane is. So is anyone else going to talk properly? Shane's doing another one. Okay. John is doing educational on everything, and we've got contests coming up, so please include them as well. And that's about it. It's Olympic Games thing where you're kangaroo or whatever you want to do. Yeah, tracksuits. Oh, we're my Olympic Games 2000. Anyway, that's what the theme is.
So that is our next meeting, Olympic game theme. Anything else?
Look at pathway. Look at the
Those motions that weren't discussed tonight.
Yeah.
Now, we're not planning a business session for the next meeting, but certainly the one about the international convention has to be dealt with. So maybe those motions could be sent out by email and voted on.
Yeah.
Why can't we have a business session next meeting, Colin?
There's no reason you can't. It's for the executive to decide.
We're going to have a session 1 week.
Oh yeah, but there's some stuff you guys have got to knock over.
Maybe we'll discuss if we have time for business session next time. We can look at a program.
Have a talk about whether you want to have it here or you want to do it online, as Colin suggested.
Yeah. But Madam President, some things I feel in those 9 motions on notice can be handled through that way. Some I think that we should be discussing the 5th Tuesday and the hybrid meetings. I think those should be discussed, and I would love to see a short business session next meeting to discuss those.
And that's an important one because
I suggest once you start discussing hybrid meetings, you're not going to have a short meeting.
Well then, whatever it takes.
Well,
we're not going to get solved over the internet.
Well, if we think that's an important issue that we need to discuss, then we plan it into the program. If we have to have a meeting with the others, then we do that.
But I'm going to put a suggestion in a tough meeting, tough business session like that, have Colin there because he will make it so that it does run the time because he will do the proper forward against and you'll put the motion, Colin, when you feel it's right. I think you'd be able to control that session perfectly.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Well, everyone puts their point across for or against and then we vote.
Why not put it all forward so we can all read it and then we...
I did. No one responded, not a single person responded to my email.
I didn't think there was a response required.
There isn't, but if that means people would be in agreement then with that, presumably. Okay, but if anyone's in disagreement, so it'll be a very short business session if people are all in agreement with it. Thank you, John.
And can I congratulate you tonight, Sonia, for that business session? It was difficult, but you are the area director for this area. You will be expected to do that at your area council meeting very soon, and you'll be expected to
Sorry,
So-
you're the area director.
Yeah.
She's the area director. So she's going to be doing council meetings in public and with the other members from other
Oh my
councils.
God.
So start practicing now because I need to. No, you're in control. You know what to do for a start. You'll be right.
Oh,
So
okay.
tonight is just.
Oh, okay. I'm not as nervous as everybody else. I'm okay.
You will be.
Yeah.
And you are right. So I congratulate you. You've taken the first step, and that's it.
Just make it fun. You'll be good.
Welcome to the world.
Area director, you're eating alive.
She's got power bar. She's got food. She's got.
Oh my God.
All those horrible clubs over there.
Oh, I wouldn't be scared by John Sapp. Don't worry.
Well, no one's leaving. Why don't we discuss the extra 9 motions right there? Sorry.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
Well,
We have so
I
much to
can do it.
discuss.
It's out of the way.
I'd love to.
Not all nine.
Well, let's
No,
all
no,
tell
no,
them have already been done. Let's talk about the fifth meeting.
But those other ones we can get out of the way to a vote. But just
I was joking.
the fifth Tuesday and the hybrid meetings. Why don't we resolve it now?
Well, why don't you do a show of hands? Who wants to stay back and do that?
Who wants to resolve it now? Hybrid.
Can we do the proxy vote as well now?
Yeah.
Collins, you want to take
No,
that?
there were 3 hands up and nobody else. I think those are.
Sonia also
I
wants to
thought
include
they all were
No,
yes.
Ted didn't have a hand. Ted didn't have a hand.
Yeah, long
You
Friday.
landed.
Yeah, the land goes to vote. You okay?
Just,
I'm staying.
Do I need a?
Jim, you can't.
No. Okay.
He's
He's got very much. He's not retired or something. We always
Okay, we can discuss it among us. I declare the meeting closed.
Oh, we're not doing it. We're all
We're discussing haven't even discussed. And then actually have an idea what you but I think they already just next time I will. I think they want why they have made something. They want to update because they already said yeah, it's usually some of them I think can now. For example, the proxy
big list of them. And some are really simple. So,
shiny fish grow.
It's a very good word. So, if you say it 6 times,
Even me, I don't know how to I don't do business at all.
Hey.
Thank you. Excuse me, you need it? Let's get past this.
Oh, I need to stop. Bye bye.